Hi, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel or whatever platform you're watching this on. Hi, my name is Bill Masuku. I am a comic book artist and writer from Zimbabwe. I like to say that I'm an African comic book artist, just so that you know uh, my inspirations, my ideas, and what I'm trying to do with my work. With Kalahari Kids, that is the name of this project. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Um, it started off as an animation project that I was pitching to a studio, and it is very much the puzzle place meets. I want to say Blue's Clues, but I don't think I watched Blue's Clues as a kid. Maybe Puzzle Place meets Dora the Explorer, um, which makes this a group of kids that are it's kind of explorers, it's kind of grounded, but every so often they do something enchanted or nonsensical. I could also see it working in live action if I just had like a studio for these kids to do like science, art, history, and African culture, because those are the things that I want to focus on in this. I don't want to use the word IP in this story. Um, it's literally in the theme song that I made, and as much as there is a theme song, and I did work on an animation for this, I wanted to make a children's book, just so that there's more access to it for people who don't have immediate access to um, the broadcasting, the YouTubes, whatever it is. And I read children's books when I was younger, and that's kind of what inspired me to make this. But also science. So I was a science kid growing up, and it always both fascinated me and disheartened me that not everybody is into science in the way that I was into science. Because there's just so much about learning about the world, about how things work, taking things apart. Where do rainbows come from? How does gravity work? Like these big questions about the world that do have answers, and they can be fun. It doesn't have to be homework. Um, and so with my characters, so I have Matt, Sanji, Zuleika, and Farai. For that, much like Captain Planet, like a diverse group of kids, or Captain Planet or the original Power Rangers, diverse group of kids who all live in proximity to each other and are good friends, looking like a university prospectus. I wanted each of them to have like an area of focus. So maybe one is better at geography or geology. Another is super into um, toys slash basic mechanics and circuits. Another one is into cooking or chemistry. Um, and another is into like sports slash biology. Um, so the both the practical side and the learning side dancing together with each other is the end goal here. Um, with the page that I'm drawing now, um, I have Zuleika in the front, who's kind of like, well, no one really knows how that works 'cause it just works, and having Matt in the background, but saying something to the effect of, but like weathermen know how that works. How do they know weeks in advance or days in advance what the rain is gonna be like? Um, and I just want to talk about like forecasting weather, the water cycle within this, while it's still being like an organic conversation between kids. On one of the pages, I have a kettle, and then the kettle steams and it cools, um, all while it was raining earlier on in the day for them. And so that example of, the sun heating up water, water breaking down into vapor, and that vapor coming back down as rain to replenish the water in the water cycle. Super easy example there, but I think where I'm gonna have fun is the different personalities and how they think about the water cycle, and if asking questions that kids would ask in terms of like where does water go um, when it does boil, or it does heat up. Is steam and mist the same thing? What is fog? I don't think I'll cover that last three because we don't really have fog in Africa. Um, I say that as a generalization. I know that the countries that do have ports and harbors will probably be dealing with fog, but it's just not a concept that comes up often enough for me to think of that. Still undecided about the actual scripting. Much like my self-made comic books, I draw the art first and the words come later, as I get to know the characters. Well, not just my comic books. I'm also just like a discovery writer in general. So when it comes to me making a novel, I'll have a general idea of where to go, and then I will have fun interacting with each of the characters as I go along. I imagine Matt here is the sporty one, the one who does do. I don't want to say gym because he's a child, but he does every single sport under the sun, and so he knows how the human body works better than other people in terms of maybe the next book will cover someone catching a cold, and what that does to like the lungs, and how do you take care of yourself when you're a little under the weather? Why do you have less energy? Things like that. Um, I haven't really thought about what Zuleika's unique skill or specialty is, but I'm trying to avoid anything overtly feminine because I don't want to box her into being the girl of the group. As much as I'm trying to get uh, a diverse, and that word might trigger some people. I'm trying to get like a good range of um, both culture and experience. Um, so obviously, maybe Farai speaks two languages, or Farai and Sanji speak two languages, but they're not the same languages. Um, and then maybe uh, Zuleika has a different family configuration, so maybe she has like seven siblings, or something to that effect, and how she interacts with these other kids feels more like family than friendship. I don't know. I'm genuinely still working it out. I'm having fun, still discovering that in the early stages. Um, and because there's no plot when it comes to children's stuff, so it's episodic. Um, because there's no overarching plot, I don't have to worry about having it all figured out. I have the general outline, and for this first book, The Rain is Down in Africa, it's really just they are trapped indoors because of the storm, and then they think about the storm, and then they have just like a general conversation about I can't wait to go outside. But then when they do, there's like a greater appreciation of the outdoors. Um, I think all children's books have some kind of moral here. Um, and I think for this one, it's just about patience. Because if they go out in the rain, they'll be sick. Like, staying indoors isn't the end of the world. Yes, it can be boring when you're an outdoors kid, but at least they're not alone. So that's more on the story side of it. When it comes to the art, I know that children's books are usually more painterly. Um, but because it started off as an animation project, I literally just pulled the character designs almost one for one, if not one for one, into the book. So that there's no jump between thinking, oh, it's a slightly different character because the way that his blonde hair is in the book versus it is in the animation are different. No, I wanted to keep it very similar, and also eventually can use these as beat boards when it comes to doing these episodes. So very quickly, beat boards are more focused storyboards. So rather than the in between actions, they are just really concisely drawn um, action concepts. I hope that makes sense for anyone who doesn't do storyboarding. Um, yeah, I had lots of fun uh, just trying to get their characterization out in as few pen strokes as possible. Um, but I hope you saw earlier that I drew the foreground before I drew the background. There's no actual background, so I drew the foreground before I drew the background character, and I ended up having to turn off some layers and put them back on. If you don't know about digital painting, that is one of the digital painting, digital illustration, just working digitally. Layers are typically the way to go. So you usually, from the outline, select everything and then create a mask. And the mask is a singular color that you can draw on without affecting anything else. So as you can see, even if I'm brushing around the hair, it's not going outside of the lines. It's like this nice, neat way of collecting each of the colors. Um, I don't usually label my layers unless I'm work if unless I'm working on a large graphic novel and I am working with a flatter. But typically, I have a way of orienting um, the characters based on the layer masks. So if I don't know if you can see it from here, but layer four upwards is Zuleika, and everything below that, even though they're differently numbered, um, are in the order in which I think about them. So again, if you don't know layers, it's literally looking at a stack of transparent sheets, and depending on how you've organized them, they form the final image. Yeah. Um, I wanted to get the skin accurate as much as I was talking about keeping the characters consistent. So I had the cover art for this volume open, so I could quickly just um, go color pick and come back, um, so that the hair is exactly the same color across the board. But there's one little fear that I had as I was picking the hair. I was like, are these colors printable? So I would say I've moved my entire art process to Clip Studio Paint. Um, and the teeny little bit of danger that comes with doing that is that I lose some of the functionality that I'm used to having in Photoshop. And one of those Photoshop features is to be able to just quickly toggle a button and it tells you, hey, these colors are very pretty on screen, but they will not print, sir. You're gonna get a muddy blue or a muddy brown, or the printer won't be able to tell the difference between the hair and the skin. I think there is enough contrast between the two that even if the colors mess up, it won't be a uniform tone. But I have had problems like that in the past. I think it's just general experience of doing this over and over again that makes me a little bit more confident about not using that Photoshop feature. But as long as I avoid anything that's um, too bright and too dull, um, I should be fine. If you can see the in the bottom left corner, there's like a color circle slash square. There's just certain regions within that just will never print well. Um, and I know about like most of the colors and their range. The color range that's tricky to get a hold of is blue, because there's so many blues that just won't print well, or the blue isn't so defined in its own color palette, that the printer's like, no, these are two different colors. Um, and even just thinking about adjusting the greens on the page, just so that it's clear that there are two sheets of material here, was a little bit of a gamble, but I think it works. Um, I want to be able to uh, finish this book quite quickly, since a lot of the background's already done. I'm just adding in these moments of character interactions, um, of them outside of their setting, just kids in their own world talking about what they think is the truth or fact, and someone unchipping in with, actually, here's what I heard. Um, and I'm keeping it here's what I heard or here's what I learned, because they're not experts. And for the most part, I haven't seen a children's book that is self-aware enough that they're like, let's Google this, or hey, at this age we all have phones. We don't have to contest about this. Um, and it's just nice for kids just to come up with their own theories about stuff. Um, but again, this isn't like a textbook. It's just kids having fun, um, in a sciencey setting. Um, so I hadn't quite decided what time of day it is, or if the weather had changed to sunny again. But I figured there by the window it is letting in light, and because there's no background, I took some creative liberties. Just using I don't want to say a soft brush. I used a spray paint can, to softly add light in the direction from where the window is, and um, from there it was just easy to think about where the shadows are. So I'm applying this blue in contrast to the yellowish highlights, because if you have warm highlights, you need cool shadows. So this cool shadow that's casting on the right side of their bodies, I was using like a rough pencil just under the nose, behind the neck, under the bottom lip, um, and then on the majority of Zuleika's body, and then her hair. Um, and right now it looks ugly. It's like most like most art in the middle of the process. But again, we work in layers, and what you can do is modify the layer's behavior and have it multiply rather than just be blue. So it's against every other color, it multiplies that color by the intensity of that blue, creating these soft, cool shadows. I just wanted to cut out some light from her cheek, because there's some bounce light there. There's 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 some application of like some real world physics, but I'm also just having fun with it. I did a lot of the detail beyond this initial speed painting, because it's really tedious work that you can't tell the difference after 10 minutes unless I've zoomed all the way in to the screen. Um, but now, because I'm painting the entirety of the image, it's hard to get extra details. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of these updates as I make this children's book. I will probably post the theme song that I've already started posting on Instagram. But yeah, I'm having fun doing this. I'm probably going to do a multi-series of these children's books following the Kalahari kids. So if you are interested in buying the book or following the animation or even the process like you are now, you're already in the right place. And I'll catch you soon.